Hey, you're hanging out in the Link Up Lounge. I'm Tiffany Mason.
And I'm Donna Ruppel. Around here, we believe success isn't just about what you know, it's about who you link up with. This is your lounge for turning one link into endless opportunities.
Donna, it blows my mind that the two of us have over 30 years of combined networking experience.
I know. We've built businesses, expanded networks, and created unstoppable momentum, all through the power of strategic connections.
AKA networking. And now we're here to guide you to do the same, starting today.
So let's dive in, connect, and start making moves you didn't even know were possible. Welcome back to the Link Up Lounge. I'm Donna Ruppel, your Nocatee real estate expert, and I'm here with my co-host, Tiffany Mason of Virtually You, the boutique podcast management agency. This is your lounge for turning one link into endless opportunities. And today, we're talking about a shift happening right now in networking. It's going from those big rooms to small intentional circles. So many people think success in networking comes from being at the biggest event or knowing the most people, and that's just not always where the best opportunities come from. Because it's not about how many people you meet, it's about how deeply you're connected. And those deeper connections are often built in much smaller spaces, like Bond and Beyond on a weekly basis. If I can say so myself.
Right? Just a little plug. I was going to say I could not agree with that more though. And for so many reasons that of course we'll get into, but we've all been in those big networking events, tons of people, quick conversations, exchanging a lot of business cards and very little follow-up.
Very little.
I do my best to follow up with people with a quick email or a message or whatever, but it's definitely very rare that somebody messages me back. I will say that. So it feels productive in the moment because you're talking to so many people, you're moving from one conversation to the next, and you're feeling so energized about it, right? But then when you leave, well, at least I should say that as an extrovert. Okay, you're feeling so energized about it, right?
Some people are very drained and ready to go home.
Right. But when you leave, it can be hard to remember who you talked to or what you even connected on. I mean, sometimes if I'm really good, I'll make notes or whether anything meaningful really comes from it. I mean, I guess I feel like a lot of times it creates kind of the appearance of momentum and the appearance of that you're making these connections, but there really kind of isn't any real relationship behind it.
Yeah, that's where micro communities come in. And I think that there is like a seasonality. I think that being in the big rooms, there is a time and a place for that. But there's also another season where these micro communities really are more of the focus because it's in those smaller groups, that those more focused groups, that you are giving people the chance to actually get to know you, trust you, and remember you over time. I remember when I started with a different networking group and we met weekly and I bucked that so hard. And I was like, are you sure it needs to be every week, all the time? And she was like, yeah, well, that's how you stay top of mind with people. And I thought, I don't know, but action brings clarity. And guess what, guys? When you meet with people every single week, they really do stay top of mind. I
Right?
did end up appreciating that. Yeah. So instead of trying to make those quick impressions in a crowded room, you're really building familiarity in a space where connection can naturally grow. And that's where real relationships start to happen and where real opportunity begins to take shape. I know in our group, what I value so much about it is our relationships. I mean, like it feeds my business in the sense of, staying top of mind and referrals and all those kind of things, but it also kind of feeds my soul in the sense of like, it's my tribe now. I mean, we're called the Empower Tribe, but man, that's our tribe.
Right. And definitely feel the same way in the sense of, yes, it's, a referral base for my business. And yes, it keeps me top of mind. But when I'm going around in life or, scrolling on social media and a reel comes up, there is somebody usually in my group that I think of and I send it to them or whatever, and it's, you become friends, really. I know that's what everybody's supposed to say, but I really truly feel that, when I think about things, I'm like, oh, that's my friend, I do think that there is a belief that the bigger the room, the more people you meet, the better the opportunity when it comes to networking. But on the surface, I mean, that sounds true because a bigger room seems to offer more access, more visibility, more connections, more potential leads. But really, in reality, I mean, big spaces can feel very transactional and conversations stay very surface level, in my opinion, because you're not going to tie somebody down into a deep conversation when you're in a big room with a lot of people. I
Lots of
feel
times you
like,
don't have time either because there's like a format to the meeting, right? So like,
right,
okay, here's your mingling time. Okay, here's the luncheon. Okay, here's the speaker. Okay, here's the, you don't have all the time in the
right.
world to talk that whole time.
Right. You're not going to do a deeper dive with somebody in a big room like that. You're just not.
No,
You're one of
no.
many. It's kind of hard to stand out when everyone's trying to make a fast impression. As we've talked about, I'm in real estate, right? And so if I go to a bigger room, I mean, there's definitely going to be
Oh, yeah.
probably 10 to 15 other realtors in there, right? So I am having to really figure out what is my niche that I want to hit when I go in there, because I know there's going to be 15 other people that do the same thing I do. It's just hard to stand out in a bigger room. And I feel a lot of pressure when I'm in a big room. I either need to talk fast or I need to make a really good first impression. And so you're not really getting that deeper dive into who I am and what I can do.
Yeah, exactly. You're just kind of repeating the same introduction over and over, and you're just sharing what you do in a quick little soundbite. No one is
Mhm.
really getting the full picture of who you are, right? We've talked about maybe you're saying that power statement, but then you're not really getting to get into any of the details or the nitty gritty of what you really do. Or we've talked about a short story that you could share too. But again, it's a short story. It's got to be something you can get
Mhm.
out in just a couple of sentences. You don't get a chance to really go over. I'm thinking of one of the real estate stories that you've told here on the podcast, and I just don't know how you would say it shorter. So, how the lady wanted a guarantee on something and you wrote it into the agreement, and then months later she was like, something's happening, and you said, well, it's written in your agreement, that's covered. It's not something that you can, that's too
Right.
many details. It's just too many
Right.
details in that
Right.
kind of setting. So no one's really getting to know you, and it becomes harder and harder for them to trust you or think of you when an opportunity does come up. I know that there was somebody who paints cabinetry and stuff, and I was trying to think of the person. I was like, okay, she was there, her husband was there. And I'll tell you what, I could not come up with the name of the business to save my life. So it's like I knew about the person, but because I only met him once. So without the depth, there's just not that relationship being built. And without the relationship, the networking just becomes a number game instead of a connection strategy.
Yeah. And unless you're going in to one of those large networking events thinking I want to meet somebody who paints cabinets, right? Because I get a lot of
Yeah.
clients who want to paint cabinets and ask me for referrals. Chances are that unless I'm collecting business cards and then actively following up afterwards, and then really, I mean, going the next step and trying to connect with a coffee date or something like that, the relationship just isn't going to grow. It's not going to blossom. Without relationships, I mean, networking doesn't work. It's just noise, it's just activity. You may leave with a stack of contacts, but contacts alone do not create the collaboration, the referrals, the real business growth. The magic happens when people understand your value, right? And connect with your personality and feel confident introducing you to others. And that takes more than a quick hello. One thing I will say too is I'm torn on this. This is sort of off topic, but it's a good time to bring it up. I know we live in 2026, okay? And I know that digital business cards are everywhere, okay? And I believe in a digital business card and I have one. But when you go to these big networking events, I'm not going to lie, like people hand me a physical business card, I'll take it home, I'll do my follow up. I make notes on the card sometimes, especially if there's a plain black side. But somebody who gives me a digital business card that I scan at the time, it goes into my contacts. I mean, I just don't do the follow up as well because I don't know. You have to know exactly who they are to find them again in your phone. So my follow up isn't as good on the virtual business cards. And so I'm really torn because some people love to see virtual business cards. And some people, I mean, we know some people in our group that they don't even have physical cards. And
Me.
I just am like, but when you go to big events, really, you don't have a physical card. Okay. So when you go to big events, like, do you get the same amount of follow up when you only use your digital business card? And if you do, I guess, yeah, I need to figure out how to make that work because I just don't do the same follow-up with a virtual business
Well,
card that I do with a
I think
physical
there's
one.
like a time and a place for it, right? So first of all, I want to address one thing that you said that, we have all these relationships, but we have all this networking, but without the relationships, it's just noise. And I think that that is part of it, right? Like we're all with AI and the internet and just everything at our fingertips. I think that we just have so much coming at us
Yeah,
all of the time that is why you need the relationship. That
right.
is why the micro rooms, right? Because you get in these big rooms and it's kind of like social media all over again. It's like,
Yeah,
there's
you're right.
there's a
Yeah.
hundred there's 100 people you could connect with. Whereas like in a micro community, like you just have 8 people to focus on or you just have 20 people to focus on, right? It's like so much less and it's so much less stress on your brain and takes so much less cognitive load, okay?
Yeah.
So, thinking about that and then thinking about this digital card versus physical card, I kind of think a physical card in a big room because it's a little bit, in my opinion, it's a little bit colder. It's like, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card, here's my card. And because you're like making these quick little touches, that makes more sense, right? And you haven't got into the nuts and bolts of it. Whereas if you're in a smaller setting and you're like, been talking to somebody for 15 minutes and they're like, can I have your contact information? You're like, oh yeah, scan my card. It doesn't seem as invasive or
Right.
as, I don't know, what is the word I'm trying to say? Invasive is what comes up. Anyways, it doesn't seem as invasive to ask them to scan the barcode after you've had this, great conversation. So I think there is a time and a place for both of them. Now, I will say I usually offer my digital card when I want to reach out to that person because I use Hi Hello and it will send me an email that says you connected with this person. And then
Mm.
when I get back to my desk, I've got these digital reminders in my email where I'm already at, where I'm already working. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to pound that out quick. Let me just reply. It was great seeing you. I love that we talked about X, Y, and Z. Please give me the link. I'm thinking yesterday I actually went to a networking event and I am looking for this little charger that you plug in and it has a USB-C and a USB and some other charging type on it. And so I'm thinking like when I follow up with him today, it's going to be like, hey, great to meet you, all that kind of stuff. And then can you still send me the link to that charger?
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But again, I talked to him last time we had that meeting, and then I got to talk to him again yesterday. So this is our second interaction. So that relationship's a little bit deeper. So it didn't feel weird to be like, hey, scan my business card, and then I can reply to you via email.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
think there's a time and a place for both.
Yeah. Good point.
Yeah. So I think that micro communities just change up the relationships, change up, how we're interacting with one another. When you're in that smaller group, you see the same people consistently. And that consistency actually makes a huge difference that I definitely undervalued in the beginning. Those conversations go so much deeper because you're not trying to cover everything in 30 seconds, which, like you said, it can be kind of stressful. And I think you have those conversations. And when you realize there's more you want to talk about, it makes it very easy to go offline or to go, meet up for coffee or those kind of things. You can continue that conversation. And then over time, people just begin to understand not just like what you do, but how you think, what you care about, what makes your approach different. Again, it just goes back to that know, like, and trust factor. When we know, like, and trust people, we refer them. And how do you get to know, like, and trust them? By repeated interaction and getting to have those fuller conversations.
Yeah. I mean, in the micro communities, you're not starting from scratch every single time you see them. You're
Right?
building.
Jeepers.
Yeah, you're building a foundation, you're building a relationship, and people begin to understand what you do, who you serve, how you show up, how you're different than, for me, how you're different than the 5,000 other realtors out there. I mean, that means you spend less time explaining yourself and more time having meaningful conversations that lead somewhere. It goes to a deeper level. It also gives you the chance to really show your expertise in a more natural way because I'm not trying to like regurgitate everything special about me in 30 seconds. I have the opportunity to show people week after week a different, layer of my onion, so to speak, because people see you over time
You're
instead of just
exposing your
once.
onion to people, Donna.
Like my Shrek reference there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like an onion.
So you're saying like, it makes the relationships deeper and you don't have to start over each time. And I think that that also goes to, you said that, the people and so you're sharing reels with them or whatever. And I also think that it is giving you collaboration ideas. So the more that you know somebody and you know and like and trust them and you want to work with them, you're finding more layers of your onion, if we're going to keep down that path, where you guys can really connect. And so I think that that is valuable along with, we do our business spotlight. So the first time somebody does a business spotlight, which is a 10-minute, well, really 8-minute presentation, and then 2 minutes question and answer about your business. And so the first time around, I'm virtually you, I take care of podcasts, blah, blah. Next time, maybe I focus on this is the software that I use and this is the kind of things I do on a daily basis. And then the next time you do it, you say, this is how I create the show notes and this is how I make sure the SEO and this is how I organize my clients. Like each time you have that moment, everybody in the group is getting to learn more and more about your business. And it may spark ideas on, sometimes people are doing their presentation. I'm like, oh, I could refer them to this organization.
Mm-hmm.
Or I wonder if they've thought about doing this with these people. So it gives a lot of different ideas and it helps you to more frequently refer or a better referral each time, as you're learning about them and that repeated exposure to their business. And all of that leads to more trust. And that trust leads to more referrals and collaborations and real opportunities. Like I just said, people are far more likely to recommend somebody that they feel like they really know rather than somebody that they met in passing.
Yes.
In micro communities, trust is built through repeated connection, shared conversations, and genuine support. And that's what makes these small circles so powerful. When I see two of our members connecting and collaborating, I'm not sure if it's competitive or if it's just like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Who could I connect with in the group? It actually inspires me. It motivates me to go, who else in the group could I be doing something with?
Right.
So I think that there's so much value.
Yeah. And, I've said before, I'm not the most creative person in the room.
Sure.
And so to me, that's one thing I love about our little micro community is that there's other people in there that are way more creative than me. And they have such great ideas about how to do different collaborations with me or different, things for my business. And, the other thing, just to piggyback off of what you said about trust in micro communities is you learn to trust the other people in your group. And when they tell you something like, what would be really cool for you and your business or your marketing approach or your verbiage is if you did this or said this or went this way, because when I heard it, I thought this, but I think you really mean that. And, you grow that trust enough that you get real honest feedback on how your message can go out and how it can be better and maybe something you should focus on that is going to trigger a pain point for somebody that you didn't even think about. And so I think that, it builds on trust for sure, but I think it just helps make you even better when you're in a micro community that has that kind of trust and that you can get to that level of respect for each other, that you can really help somebody be better in their business or have their message clear or whatever. I just think that that's kind of something that a lot of people who don't go to micro communities for their networking miss the boat when it comes to that part. I think that's a critical part of the smaller groups. And I also think it creates accountability. I mean, you and I have talked about, we have a whole episode, I don't remember what number it is, but there's a whole episode about takers and not to be a taker.
Yes.
Right? And in these micro communities, a taker becomes obvious and clear pretty quick, right? But you can go
because
to
they
big,
think they're in a big room.
right? But you can go to big networking events and you can be a taker all day long and nobody will ever notice because there's no accountability, whereas in the micro communities, there is accountability. I mean, you're not just another face in the room, you're part of the conversation and people notice when you show up. They notice when you contribute. They notice when you refer. They notice when you follow through. And that kind of environment can help you grow personally. It can help you grow professionally. It can help you be a better referral partner because you're participating in a space where your presence and your actions actually matter. And for people who want to be takers, the micro communities are not a good fit
No.
because we ferret those out pretty quick and people start to go, this person isn't doing anything. They're not making referrals. They're not making connections. They're not making collaborations. And then, you and I have said before too, then they tend to just kind of fade away out of the micro community because it's not their jam. They need a bigger room so nobody sees. Nobody
Yeah,
sees what they're
yeah,
doing.
yeah. Well, I know that we've had other members reach out to us and be like, "Hey, does this other member like actually refer business ever?"
Yeah.
You spot them. You spot them.
Yeah.
They're not hard to, yeah. So unfortunately. Well, I
Yeah.
think the other thing about a core group, micro group is speaking of how, they know you better and so they refer you more. It's like this little group that's always cheering you on. They're
Mm-hmm.
always talking about you in rooms that you're not in, and they're always saying things positive about you. And another thing that I wanted to address is at our in-person meetings, you were saying that sometimes they'll give us feedback and they make us better, right? And I love nothing more than when one of our members comes and says, "Okay, this is a flyer I'm thinking about putting out. What do you think about it? How does it look? Whatever," right? So
Mm-hmm.
let's say the graphic design artist in the group says, "Well, the font is too big. This is too busy. There's too many words on this page." And then indirectly, the rest of the group goes, "Huh, that person
Mm-hmm.
really knows what they're talking about. I'm going to refer
Yeah.
them even more." When
Yeah.
you can kind of speak to your expertise within the group, like unintentionally, you're just giving your feedback, but you really get to, spotlight and show your expertise. So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool.
I think also in the bigger rooms, when you have a micro community as well, because we've talked about this, that, it's great to network in a lot of different ways, a lot of different formats,
Yes.
be in a lot of different rooms, right? So when you have a micro community and then you go to a bigger event and you see people maybe from your little micro community there, I think everybody does a really good job of not just talking to each other because we all already know each other. And so we go our separate directions and we go out and feel out the room. But there is nothing better than when you're meeting somebody, talking to somebody, and somebody from your little micro community comes over. You
Yes. I know what
instantly
you're going to
feel
say.
more at ease. You instantly feel like, ooh, I can
Oh,
be
that's not
myself
what I thought you were going to
for a
say.
second. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But then, they almost always tend to interject something special or
Oh,
unique about
yeah.
you that maybe you wouldn't have even said. It would have been weird for you to say. I don't know. Or like you didn't think about, and they're reading the conversation differently or just enough to say the right thing that really boosts you and gives you more support and gives you more authority even. I just think that there's a lot of times where that little micro community person can really lift you up and boost you in the eyes of another in a big room. And
Yeah.
I think that
Yeah.
is something that I see a lot from our little micro community when we're out in the bigger spaces. And I love that.
What I thought you were going to say is I thought you were going to say, there's nothing better than when somebody goes, "Oh, you're struggling with this, you got to meet this person." And they bring them
Oh, yeah,
over
yeah,
and they
yeah.
do like the in-person, like, "Oh, this is who you should talk to. This is Donna. She's an amazing realtor. I know you said you were looking in Nocatee. She is the queen. She knows what's going on. Definitely, it's worth having a conversation. I'll leave you two to talk, but I thought you should know each other." And then,
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
dismiss yourself and you can keep networking, but you've made this like, stellar introduction.
Right.
And they've already sung your praises.
No, that's a great point. Like, that's another perk of the whole micro community because, I mean, would you really do that for somebody you just met in a big room?
Nope.
Drag them over to somebody else, right?
Nope.
So many perks of the little micro communities here.
So many perks. So, if you guys want a micro community, how do you tap into this? First, look for some niche groups, industry specific circles, interest based communities, or even local gatherings where people already share something in common. Those shared values or goals create a stronger foundation for real connection, and it will make the opening conversations easier because you guys have something in common, something to talk
Mhm.
about, something to break the ice rather than just the weather. The more aligned the group is, the more likely the conversation will be meaningful and productive.
I mean, I would say second, don't overlook smaller gatherings like workshops, masterminds, or even casual meetups. Those spaces may not look as impressive from the outside, but they're often where some of the strongest connections are made. Smaller settings, give people room to talk, listen, build trust without feeling that rushed like feeling of a big group where you have, 30 seconds, clock ticking. What's your power statement? Move on. Like the
I never
smaller
really
room.
thought about it until we're having this conversation, but it is really true. Like you feel like you're under the stopwatch. Get
Right?
it out. Spit out what you need to be saying. Heaven forbid if the other person is already checked out and they're already scanning the room for the next person
Right?
they're going to talk to.
That's what I
Like,
was going to say. Like,
stressful.
I know you're like, oh my God, I missed it. Ah! Yeah. I mean, sometimes the best opportunities come from the rooms that feel the most relaxed and genuine. I mean, I will say, I do think we kind of went through a phase where everybody and their mother was having masterminds or workshops, right? And
Yeah.
everybody was like rushing to sign up and be a part of these. And I think some of them are really valuable. I think unfortunately, that sort of world and environment got super watered down. And there's some out there that really are just people talking.
Money grabs.
Yeah. And not
Mhm.
real value being offered. So I hate to say rush out and sign up for a workshop or a mastermind because you really need to check who is putting it on. What is the authority? What is the experience they have? What is the subject matter? Do they have years of experience in that subject matter? And really be discerning about those type of things. I love the casual meetups like, hey, this particular networking group is having a coffee meetup on this and such day. I think those are great because you can go kind of dip your toe, see if there's any real connection you feel. I think as a woman, we sometimes either feel the connection or we don't. We feel the vibe
Yeah.
in the room or we don't.
Yeah. Yep.
And so I think in a lot of ways, and I can only speak about being a woman because I am a woman, but I don't know if men have that same feeling, vibe, intuition, yeah, when they go into a room or not.
I think people, for the most part, I think all people just have that vibe. Like, this is a room I want to be in, or this is a room I'm not interested in being in.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, I think kind of looking for the smaller gatherings. I always love to test a group with a free event because I feel like if I can't check it out for free, what really is the motivation of this particular organization?
Yeah.
That's just my mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Well, and if you are doing these things and you're not finding the right space, create one. I mean, that's what Donna and I did. We were like, I don't know. We would like to do some things on our own, some things a little bit different. And so we started Bond and Beyond Network. And then within that, we have people who want to join Bond and Beyond, but their category is already taken. So you know what they do? They start their own group within Bond and Beyond. So they get the structure, they get the community, they get the support, but they start up their own group. There's a little anonymity that we give the group so they can kind of make it work for them. It doesn't have to be big or formal to be valuable. Start with 5 to 10 people. And let me tell you, Donna and I have learned no less than 5. Start with 5. Trust
Right?
us. Start with 5 to 10 people who align with your values, your goals, the type of energy you want around you. And just a simple intentional group can become incredibly powerful when you have the right people in it.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely rather have a powerful, great connection type of group with 5 people in it than have 10 people in it and it not be the right combination.
Quality over quantity.
Yes, 100%. If you haven't guessed what I'm going to say next, I'm going to say consistency is key. Meeting regularly builds familiarity and familiarity builds trust. So if you haven't gotten that from this episode yet, we are big fans of consistently meeting. So when people know they're going to see you again, the relationship starts to deepen naturally, right?
Yeah,
That's when
yeah.
conversations become more honest, support becomes more real. And opportunities like really begin to grow from a strong foundation because I know I'm going to see that face every single week. I know I have got to do a deeper dive into that person because I see her every week and I haven't even had a coffee date with her yet. I feel an obligation. I feel a pull to get to know her better, to do a deeper dive because I see her every week. If I only met her once at a big event, probably never going to talk to her again. Right? Because I mean, there's certain people that maybe I'm going to say maybe 5% that you immediately want to connect with. Like tomorrow we're going to coffee. Okay. Then there's like a whole middle section of people, I will say 40, 50%, 60 maybe even, where you're like, oh, I'd love to get to know them better, right? And then there's some that are harder to crack the shell, is what I will say. And maybe it's a personality, maybe it's what they do for a living. But once you crack the shell on those remaining people, there can be a really great relationship, but you're never going to know that unless you're in a micro community. You're never going to crack into that.
Yep.
So I think that's really important to be consistent and really grow the relationship.
Well, I'm excited because when we're done recording this episode, we're actually going to meet with our group. So I'm very excited. So consistency matters. And I get excited to see our girls. I mean, if your network feels frustrating or surface level, it might not be you. It might just be the room that you're in. Sometimes we assume we need to, work harder, be more outgoing, or attend more events when really we just need to be in a better environment. So find your tribe and find your vibe. That rhymes. And that's what was in my head. And sorry, guys, for being cheesy, but it is true. Not every room is designed for real connection. The right room will make it easier for you to be seen, heard, and remembered.
You don't need to be everywhere, right? I mean, you just need to be in the right space with the right people. And that shift alone can save you time, energy, and a lot of unnecessary frustration. I mean, when you focus on quality over quantity, networking starts to feel more natural and a lot more effective.
That's right, because one strong circle can create more opportunity than 100 loose connections. I mean, a trusted group can open doors, it creates introductions, and supports your growth in ways that random contacts simply cannot. Strong relationships have a ripple effect, and man, have I seen that in our group. And often the smaller the circle, the stronger the ripple becomes.
Yeah, absolutely. So
facts. Hashtag facts.
Hashtag. When you focus on, that real depth over volume, that's where the real growth happens. The strongest businesses, partnerships, and opportunities are often built through genuine connections. So take a look at the rooms you're in and ask yourself whether they're helping you build relationships or just collecting names and handing out business cards. Because the right
that's a mic drop.
Right?
Maybe we end the episode right there. No networking on today, guys.
Right?
JK,
I mean,
it's coming at you.
The right micro community can change everything. Okay, well, here it is. Networking mode on. This week's networking mode on tip: identify one smaller, more intentional group you can join or create, show up consistently, and focus on building real relationships, not just collecting contacts. Networking mode on. If you're looking for a micro community and you want to check out Bond and Beyond, you can find all that information in the show notes.
Yes, perfect idea, Donna. We would love to have you join us. Check us out. We're in the St. John's, Florida area, and we welcome you to our micro community. And if you find or start a micro community, tag us on Instagram at @the_link-up lounge. We want to hear all about it and celebrate you. Let's keep building those powerful links together.
You've been hanging out in the Link Up Lounge, your lounge for turning one link into endless opportunities.
Now it's your turn. Go make a powerful link today.
Networking mode on.